If you're creating content and you're getting thousands of views, maybe even hundreds of thousands, but you're not getting any clients, nobody's DMing you interested in your product or offer, or if people are commenting saying that they really needed to hear this or they really liking the content that you're making, but nothing actually happens, this video is for you. Because if your content gets attention but it doesn't turn into clients, you don't need a new hook and you don't need a new video strategy or a new ad strategy or a new funnel hack. What's happening is your messaging is just too broad. The person watching it might feel like you're giving them a ton of value and a lot of information, but it doesn't feel like you're speaking directly to them. It's informative, but it doesn't really hit them where it hurts. It doesn't really hit them in a place where they feel like they can really resonate with it. And I know you're probably thinking, all my videos and all my content gives a ton of value. What else could they possibly want? The weird part is that it doesn't even feel like people are disagreeing with you. They'll comment, they'll save the video. Your videos will have tons of saves, but nobody's actually DMing you and nobody actually cares to buy. So if I had to summarize this entire concept, it's probably just niche down and get so clear on your customer problems that it feels weirdly specific. And before you click off this video because it sounds like boring generic advice, it's probably the exact reason why you're stuck between $7,000 and $15,000 a month with 25 YouTube tabs open with a bunch of different scaling strategies, but none of them seem to work. I'm serious, because this missing piece usually isn't effort, it's actually relevance. And before I explain it in more detail, I want to tell you a story. When I was in elementary school, at the end of every day, we'd all get put in this big auditorium basketball stadium kind of thing where there's like bleachers everywhere, and all of the students were lined up based off the buses that they would take, and they would obviously have a certain route that would take them home. And you can only imagine how loud this place was, right? There's like 300 10-year-olds just screaming, constant chaos, noise everywhere. It was extremely loud, and it was almost impossible to maintain a conversation with somebody right next to you without having to scream. But at the same time, every single day, there was some kid, some friend, all the way on the other side of the gym trying to get my attention, and they would be screaming my name, Gab, Gab. I go by Gab, by the way, in case you don't know. It's just short for Gabriele. But the crazy thing is, despite there being this room full of noise and chaos and kids throwing things around, or I don't even know, it's just like stuff happening, I was still able to hear somebody shouting my name across a room full of noise, and it just cut through everything and hit me like where I realized that this person was trying to get my attention. And I'm not going to lie, most of the time I would just ignore it because I would be done with the day for school, and I wasn't trying to have a conversation with a kid all the way across on the other side of the stadium. But that's just a side note. And this is exactly why when you're in public or when you're in a club or at a party or whatever it may be, you can still hear things that are relevant to you, even when there's a ton of stuff going on, because your brain is literally filtering reality for what's relevant to you. Now, bringing this back to content, if you're selling a form of coaching or mentorship or course or anything like that, and you're speaking in broad terms, your content is literally just part of the noise. People open up Instagram and watch thousands of videos every single day, and they only remember one of them if they're lucky. Most of the time, they'll just end the day and not even remember a single thing that they watched. And it's not because your content is bad or because other people's content is better than yours. It's just because it doesn't trigger that part of the brain that says, wait, this is actually for me. It never makes them feel like you're speaking directly to them. And in 2026, there's more noise than ever before. Your viewers, your ideal clients, they're all being bombarded consistently with tons of different messaging in the form of videos, in the form of actual notifications from friends that are messaging them. But if something doesn't feel personally relevant to them, it gets completely ignored, whether the video is good or not, which is exactly why people will like stuff, comment, save, and then just completely disappear. It's not because the video is bad, but it just doesn't feel relevant enough to them personally. This is also why language matters a lot more than you think. Just by simply using the word you rather than guys helps people feel like you're speaking directly to them. Like, listen to this example. Guys, you need to listen to this because if you don't, your videos are going to flop. Whereas if I were to say, if you're about to post your next video and you don't do this, it's likely going to flop. Even that subtle thing, and of course that hook is very overused, I just made it on the spot, but one feels like I'm speaking to you as the viewer, and the other thing feels like I'm just speaking to the general public, and that subconsciously gets filtered out as noise. And of course, you're not just going to get away with now all of a sudden speaking directly to one person by just using the word you. And this alone can probably help you improve the relevance of your content to your ideal customers. So the next thing you're probably thinking is, okay, cool. How do I actually fix this? And I hate to break it to you, but it's not a very sexy answer. It's kind of boring, and it's the exact reason why most people avoid it. And it's boring to confront this because it's a lot more exciting to talk about an ad strategy or a new hook strategy or a thumbnail strategy, which can definitely help you optimize. But without fixing this foundational layer, none of that will actually really work. Like, you might be able to get some results, but it would be like trying to run a race on some stilts that can break at any time because the foundation isn't there. And so the way that I go about this is it all comes down to understanding who you want to watch your content, what problems they're facing, and how it's completely relevant to them. And I'm not some kind of guru who has all of this figured out. In 2026, one of my goals is to get really clear on the kind of person that I want watching my videos. And not every video is going to be for every kind of person, so it's got to be oddly specific. So I think about one actual person, like I give them a name in my head. Of course, I don't say it out loud. I don't know. Maybe your name is Sam. If you're watching this video and your name is Sam, drop a comment. I don't know. But point is, I think of one really specific person, and I think about all the things that would be relevant to them. So what kind of stage are they in? What are they dealing with day to day? What loops are they constantly getting stuck in? And what are they thinking at night when things get slow? Some of the things that I said earlier in this video might have really hit home with you. Being stuck at 7 to 15K, having 25 YouTube videos open with a bunch of different tutorials on how to scale, or maybe multiple courses, and maybe just being stuck in the loop of trying to outsource that pain of not really figuring out who you're supposed to speak to in your content, and just kind of, pushing that off and saying that this is probably a problem of my ads not doing well because of some technical strategy, or I didn't have the funnel optimized or whatever. Maybe those things kind of resonated with you, but this is the way that I'm going about my videos. And I'm thinking about people as individuals who are watching this every single time whenever I script a video in 2026. And the main reason why I do that is because if I don't know this person, I can only speak in broad terms, and that gets filtered out. That is literally noise, because if I'm not speaking directly to you, you're just going to ignore it. It's just going to feel like any other video. And the second thing that I built is a document that acts as a single source of truth. This is where I brain dump and I basically collect actual quotes and phrases from conversations I've had, or comments I received, or comments on other people's, like competitors' posts, of things that people are saying. And so I have this document that lists out the main problems that people I work with have, what they think about it, what they do about it, what problems they think they have but aren't actually the real problem that they're dealing with, what they're scared of confronting, and what they keep telling themselves. Because when I have that, as well as a clear idea on who I'm speaking to, two main things happen. It allows me to make videos that will cut through the noise and make somebody feel isolated, as if we're having a one-to-one conversation right now. And even though it's a public video, it's supposed to almost feel like we're on FaceTime because of how specific it is and tailored towards the right kind of viewer who's supposed to see it. And the second thing is, it makes coming up with content ideas pretty much effortless, because I'm not guessing about what to speak about. I'm not guessing about the pain point or the limiting beliefs that a certain viewer is having, because I have all of that there. I have all of the quotes, I have all of the screenshots of the conversations and all that kind of stuff. And so that makes it a lot easier for me to connect with and to speak about these problems, because I know what they actually are. I'm not just guessing what I think people are dealing with. I'm either dealing with it myself because I use some of my own struggles. Like, I personally have had 25, probably even more. I mean, if you know me personally, you'll know I have tons of tabs open, but tons of tabs open of different YouTube videos on tutorials on how to do this, how to do that, and trying to outsource a lot of that work and a lot of that pain, and trying to pinpoint that lack of progress to something that's actually external and something that's actually just an optimization and not the foundation. This is really ironic, because one of the limiting beliefs I have is that if I niche down too hard, or if I speak to only one person, it's not going to get to the right kind of person, and not enough people are dealing with that specific issue. But the only other alternative is to just blend in with the noise. So I don't really have a choice there. It's whether I want to actually have a chance at actually getting really through to certain people, or to get through to nobody. And that's definitely a good place to start, just getting through to just a few people, because that's way better than nothing. And so if you want to do this for yourself, the first place I would start is definitely just looking at all the DMs that you've had with potential prospects who never ended up closing, or listening back on sales calls. Hopefully you're recording those. That's extremely valuable information, as well as looking back at conversations with clients. Look at how people describe their problems and try to understand where they're coming from. And if you don't have any of that, you're really like early on, look in other people's YouTube comments. Look at what people are complaining about on Reddit. Look at what people are saying on Twitter, or just start DMing people online and just trying to see if you can get anything out of it. Because as long as they are your ideal customer, this is actually really valuable, because what you're collecting isn't just ideas, it's actual words and it's actual phrasing. And it's also about how people describe their problems when they're not trying to be defensive, when they're just trying to be like open and honest about them as well. And the best version of this is when you can actually get clients to fill out an onboarding form, because if somebody's signed and worked with you because of something that you said or something that they were dealing with that clearly somehow resonated with them, and like you, that bridge was closed between them, like, searching for an answer and then working with you, you have to figure out what that is and double down on it, because clearly that was enough to get one person to come on. And so it's very likely that more people are going to be dealing with that as well. And so when you can start being extra relatable and very specific in your content by pulling actual quotes from other people or yourself, like I said earlier, I'm not going to repeat it too many times, but the whole thing about having 25 YouTube tabs open, at the end of the day, if you have a really fancy ad strategy, you have profile ads, retargeting ads, all that kind of stuff, you have a cool VSL, a cool landing page, none of that is really going to stick if you're just speaking too generally. So the two main things that I'm going to be looking for that measure the success of my future content and my clients' content is, are they getting more calls booked? Of course, I mean, it's a business at the end of the day, but are more people actually DMing saying that this really resonated and that they want to move like forward, like they're the ones who are bringing it to the table, like the idea of actually working together? Because when people are literally saying, dude, that's literally me you're talking about, how did you know this? That's how I know that I'm not just making content, but I'm actually cutting through the filter. If you made it to the end of this video, I hope that it resonated with you and that you found it useful. If you want a copy of the document that I was referring to earlier about where you can store all these phrases and problems that your ideal customer are facing, just message me the word document on Instagram and I'll send it over to you. And if you're interested in booking a one-to-one call with me to see if we can work together to scale your coaching offer, then feel free to do so as well. I'm going to leave that as the second link in the description. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, and yeah, stick around because I will be making more of this kind of content moving forward, and I'll see you on the next one.